transformation in the landscape surrounding the Almasira Dam, which sits about halfway between Casablanca and Marrakesh. 6 consecutive years of drought have threatened water supplies across the North African nation, hitting agriculture in particular. Well, Will Fletcher is a senior lecturer in physical geography at the University of Manchester, and I asked him whether climate change is behind this Morocco drought.
Yes, certainly. Climate change in North Africa is driving warmer temperatures. That forces more evaporation of water. It's also impacting on the amount of precipitation that's falling each year. The winter season is especially critical for recharging the snow and ice cap over the mountains, the snow cap on the mountains that feeds into these water resources. So there's a combined challenge, a combined problem of meteorological drought, shortage of precipitation, and of course drought then has social and economic aspects relating to the management of the water that is there.
Yeah, what does this mean for people then in Morocco and surrounding countries?
Well, it's a huge challenge, of course. The precipitation, my insight from this is as a researcher in environmental change, and I've been visiting Morocco for more than a decade now, and I've seen some really radical or dramatic transformations in some of the lakes and forests that we're working in. But of course, the social impact, as you ask, for people, this impacts on livelihood. So Morocco has a very large agricultural sector, and many people also rely on livestock. So water resources are critical for them, but also for growing urban areas. So in common with many parts of the world that are vulnerable to water shortage, the situation with climate change is making that more challenging, and that's only likely to continue and increase through coming decades.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question. I mean, this is presumably a problem that is going to get worse rather than better.
Well, that's right. I mean, there's lots of year-to-year variability, particularly in places exposed to the Atlantic climate system like ourselves. We know how you can have a rainy winter followed by a dry winter. But as you point out, the challenge there in Morocco now is severe multi-year drought. This means the systems aren't recharging, those dams aren't refilling, and environmental systems aren't receiving the water that they would have been accustomed to over much longer periods of time. And that situation is likely to increase. Climate change predictions clearly indicate rising temperatures. That's something that we can model and project very reliably heading into the future. Precipitation is much more challenging, and this, of course, is part of the problem for drought-prone regions. It's very difficult to predict year on year whether winter rainfall, for example, is going to be sufficient or inadequate.
So that's Will Fletcher, the senior lecturer in physical geography at the University of Manchester, on the drought